Well, hello everybody, welcome to Jeff's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to be making some hot cross buns ready for Easter. These are traditionally eaten on Good Friday in the morning, but you can eat them at any time basically. Certainly in the supermarkets in the UK, they start appearing weeks and weeks and weeks before Easter, and they go on appearing after Easter, so it seems that they're popular almost any time. The ingredients I've got are 500 grams of bread flour, 200 grams of, I'm using pinhead currants. I'm using a recipe from Mary Berry where she used sultanas, but when I've made hot cross buns before I've used currants and they always turn out very well, so currants it is. 200 grams, 50 grams of chopped mixed peel, 300 millilitres of warm milk, 40 grams of melted butter, 75 grams of caster sugar, 2 teaspoons of allspice, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Mary Berry used mixed spice because she didn't have allspice. The grated rind of a lemon, 10 grams of salt, 10 grams of fast action yeast, that easy bake yeast, the type that you add direct into the flour without fermenting it first, and 1 beaten egg. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put the peel in with the currants and mix those around so that the peel is divided evenly, so that when we add that to the mixture we don't get a concentration of peel in some buns and not enough peel in others, and set that to one side. Then I'm going to put the flour into our mixing bowl. You can do all this by hand of course, and into the flour I'm going to add the allspice and the cinnamon and the lemon zest, and I'm just going to whisk that round with the dough hook just to mix them up a little bit. That's good enough. Just want to get the spices nicely mixed in. That's good. And so I'm then going to add the yeast, and I'm going to put that on one side of the bowl, and I'm actually just going to push some flour over that. I'm going to add the salt on the other side of the bowl. Now there is a reason for that. Salt reacts with the yeast and will kill it if it's in too close contact. Once the ingredients are being mixed, it will be okay. And so into that I'm then going to pour my melted butter, and the egg, and about half, and the sugar, and about half of the milk. And I'm going to start mixing that and bringing it together. And then as I'm mixing, I'm going to be adding more milk gradually. You may not need all the milk. You want the dough to come together, and I'll show you the consistency when we get there. And there we have our dough. I haven't used all of the milk. There's a tablespoon or so left. It depends on the flour and how moist the flour is before you start. So as you can see, the dough's quite pliable. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue beating it and gradually add this fruit. I could put it all in one go, but I think if I add it gradually, it will mix in that little bit better. And so with the dough mixed, I'm going to just turn it out onto this work surface, and I'm going to put it into a greased bowl and allow it to prove for an hour and a half. It's still a bit sticky, but that's fine. Get a little bit of extra out. It won't come out, I'll leave it. So I'm just going to work this a little bit to make sure that any areas that don't have the fruit in get some fruit. Take a bit more flour. It's sticking a bit. But that will be fine. Right, so I'm going to place that into our greased bowl. I'll put it in that way and then just turn it over so that there's grease everywhere, which will stop it from sticking. It should come out the bowl quite easily. Poke that extra currant in. That's it. And then I'm going to cover that and let it prove for an hour and a half. Then we're going to come back, knock it back, knead it a little bit and let it prove some more. So I'll be back with you when this is finished proving for the first time. So I'm back with you now, and our dough has doubled in size. I'm going to turn it out, and what I want to do is divide this into 12. So what I'm actually going to do first of all is weigh it. And it's 1211 grams. So to divide that in 12 means I want it to be 100 to 101 grams for each ball, just to get them to about the same size. Doesn't really matter, I suppose, but I'll see how I go. So this one needs to be divided into 6. And this one goes into 3. I'll just check that. That's actually a bit small. Yep, that's fine. So 1, 2. So I have my 12 portions, and I'm now going to roll those into a ball. You can do this any way you want. I'm going to put 6 on each of 2 baking trays which I've lined with parchment. Okay, so that's the 12 hot cross buns rolled out. As you can see, I've left a gap between them on the parchment paper, and that's so that they can rise and hopefully just about touch each other. So I'm going to cover them again, and I'm going to let them prove for another hour. So they will rise up to a nice size. Then what we have to do is to put a cross on them with a flour paste. I'm going to use plain flour and water. The amount is variable, it depends. You need a thick paste, but in a sort of runny enough to pipe, but that it holds its shape a little bit as it's piping. So I'll show you that when I come back. At the same time, I will have preheated the oven to 220 Celsius, that's 200 Celsius with a fan, 400 Fahrenheit, and they'll be ready to go into the oven and bake. So I'll be back with you in an hour when these have proved. Right, so I've let these buns double in size. I didn't put them close enough together so they're not quite touching, but that doesn't matter. So now I have 75 grams of plain flour and 100 millilitres of water. And I'm just going to whisk that together into a paste. And this is going to form the crosses on our buns. That's all there is to that. I'm going to put that into a piping bag. It'll come out better with a spatula. And then I need to cut. You could use a nozzle, but I'm just going to snip the end off like that, and then I'm going to, whoops, just run the paste over the buns, and I have my oven preheating, as I said, at 220 Celsius, 200 Celsius with a fan. Fahrenheit, and I'm just going to and this will spread into a nice cross. So that's all there is to that. And there are our buns ready to go into the oven. Now I think that paste was a little bit runny, but I did it according to Mary's recipe, but nevertheless we'll see. So we're going to put these in the oven for 15 to 20 minutes until they've got a nice golden brown colour. Then we'll take them out and we're going to glaze them. Now usually you glaze these with apricot jam, but according to Mary's recipe she used golden syrup, and I love golden syrup, so that's what I'm going to use. I ought to say also that these have got candied mixed peel in them. Some people don't like that, so it would be perfectly okay instead of using the currants and the candied mixed peel to do something like cherries, glacé cherries and cranberries or something like that, any fruit you want. The traditional one would be currants and candied mixed peel, but really you can do whichever you like. So I'll put these in the oven for 15 to 20 minutes and then I'll be back with you to do the glazing. Okay, so our buns are out of the oven and we have our crosses on them. Now what I've got here is a couple of tablespoons of golden syrup, which I've warmed up slightly so it's more runny than usual, and I'm just going to brush that over the buns. Now the buns did rise more in the oven, so they did start touching, which is good. They smell lovely. They're a little bit hot at the moment, so I'll be back with you after I've done this, when I've let them cool down a little bit longer. Then I'll cut into one and eat it, or eat part of it. Now if you've enjoyed this video, please click on the like symbol, which is the thumbs up symbol under the video on YouTube, and also click on the subscribe button so that you can subscribe to my channel and you can see all the future videos that I do. Or you can see all the past ones as well, of course. Now this golden syrup is going to become nice and sticky. It's just a change from the usual apricot glaze that you tend to put on. I've actually run a knife between these buns so that they have separated. Okay, so I've let these cool down just a little bit longer, and they're still quite warm, but I'll cut into one. And just put some butter on it. and have a taste. That is wonderful. It has the spicy mix, the fruit, and a hit of the lemon from the zest as well. It really is very good. So, ideal for Good Friday. I'll let these cool down and I'll put them in a plastic container, airtight, and they'll be ready for serving on Good Friday morning, and they'll be enjoyed by everybody. If you make them and you don't eat them all straight on Good Friday, they're still fine the next day, and you can use them, you can toast them, and they taste just as good. Really very, very good indeed. So I recommend you give these a try. That's it for today. Don't forget to say you like the video and subscribe to the channel. And join me again soon when I'll be making something else. And until then, happy baking.